station covering all of the DMV. This is DC News Now.
Tonight on your news at 10, a look at DC Police's latest findings in their investigation on the deadly shooting that happened in the Metro station last week. Plus, the chief of police barred from entering his station. A look at why and what he must do to return to work. And later, an American journalist has died while covering the World Cup in Qatar. Why members of his family feel that foul play was involved. Good evening and thanks for joining us for DC News Now at 10. I'm Michaela Newton. We do have a winter weather advisory to tell you about starting at midnight tonight and heading into tomorrow morning. Scott, what can we expect before heading out the door?
Well, for those going out for early services, it could be a little slippery out towards Garrett County, Allegheny County, and now, additionally, we've added on Mineral County here as well as Grant County, but Mineral's in our viewing area. Mineral and Allegheny, Western Allegheny, as well as Grant, those are the shaded counties there in purple with some freezing rain is a possibility across the area. So that is certainly something to be worthy of. And as you can see, a weak storm system off to the west. That's responsible for these showers that will move in and bring us a little winter-type precipitation possibly in the mountains tonight. But more could be seen elsewhere later in the week. We'll break down the nuts and bolts of it coming up on the other side. Just a few minutes from now.
All right, Scott, thanks so much. New details tonight regarding this week's deadly shooting at the Metro Center station. 28-year-old Troy Bullock died after an unidentified off-duty FBI agent shot him following a fight on a train platform. Now, DC police are leading the investigation into the shooting and have released their first report on it. Our Dave Laval tells us what the report says.
What's interesting about the report is what it does not say, what led up to the fight between the two men. But it does shed more information on the person killed in the struggle. DC police say Troy Bullock committed 3 offenses during the fight. Aggravated assault, he carried a pistol without a license, and was actually a convicted felon in possession of a weapon. Security footage shows Bullock on the right as he fought with the unidentified FBI agent during Wednesday night's rush hour. Both went over the edge and fell 8 feet. That's when the agent shot and killed Bullock. The agent went to the hospital. We have not been given an update on his condition. More gunshots rang out of the Metro Benning Street station the next day. Police arrested a 16-year-old after he wounded 3 people, including a 15-year-old police say he fought with before the shooting. Despite the violent 2 days for the rail system, Metro's boss offered words of encouragement to passengers earlier this week.
You're safe. Simple. And, you know, there's feelings and emotions around that, but we are safe. If you look at statistically probability of actually having an incident in Metro, it's incredibly small.
Meanwhile, there's mixed reaction from those who travel by Metro.
I'm not safe. I don't think so. People is very safe in the Metro. I don't want to say all of them, but some area is not as safe for the people.
Sometimes getting on at Metro Center early in the morning on the red line, it can be pretty packed, and sometimes you'll have some loud and rowdy people, but overall I still feel pretty safe.
The investigation into Wednesday's deadly shooting here continues. At Metro Center Station, Dave Laval, DC News Now.
All right, Dave, thanks so much. And new tonight in Prince George's County, the city of New Carrollton's police chief was temporarily banned from the police department and the city town hall. Now, this comes after an employee filed a peace order against him. Our reporter Yamari Sase has the details.
According to court documents we obtained earlier this week, the incident actually took place on November 29th. Now, the documents say during a meeting with the police chief and the mayor of New Carrollton and also a city employee, that employee feared for her life. I was able to sit down and speak to the police chief, and he tells me he can't say much, but he's hoping that this entire situation can move forward.
I just hope we can all get past it and move on and take care of the task at hand.
David Rice has been with the New Carrollton department for more than a decade. And for the first time, he's forced to work outside his office.
The substation is set up similar to the station, so I haven't had to do anything different. I haven't missed a beat at all.
This comes after a city employee filed this peace order after a meeting with the police chief and the mayor. She wrote the police chief yelled to her face, "Fire me and I will show you what I will do." She also wrote his demeanor was hostile and violent, and at that moment I feared for my life. She claims the chief also said this woman is evil and nasty as he left the office. Chief Rice tells me he did not have bad intentions.
I'm disappointed in the whole scenario, you know, how it all played out from start to finish. I can't tell somebody how to feel. You know, I can't tell. Everybody has their own level of emotional.
City Council member Brianna Urbina shared her concerns about the incident.
This is an isolated incident, and I hope it's going to be something that's resolved very quickly, because it doesn't reflect my experience of 9 years raising my children here and really just feeling safe when I've been supported by the police as a resident and as a council member.
Rice says he's hoping after the hearing later this month, they can all move forward.
I'm really hoping and praying that we'll all just find an equal medium and to move on to the next task. And we should be spending our time focused on the residents of the city.
Now, we did reach out to the employee, but she had no comment. And as for the mayor, I did speak to her over the phone on Tuesday, and she said she can't provide comment right now since it is an open case and it's between both parties. For now, reporting in New Carrollton, Maryland, I'm Yamari Sase, DC News Now.
All right, Yamari, thanks so much. Meanwhile, Frederick County Police are looking for a suspect that shot at officers at the unit housing on South Market Street. Police say that they were called to the scene of a dispute that escalated into shooting between two suspects on Friday night. The suspects shot at police after they arrived with no injuries reported, and one of the suspects was apprehended while the other one is still on the loose. If you do have any information, please contact the Frederick County Police. Well, it was a busy week on Capitol Hill. Lawmakers passing a landmark bill protecting same-sex marriage at the federal level. And now that bill is sitting on the president's desk waiting for a signature. Now, the measure was approved in both the House and Senate. Kansas Congresswoman Sharice Davids is the state's first openly gay person elected to Congress. Now, she says she will never forget when her neighbors in Missouri voted to define marriage as only between a man and a woman nearly 20 years ago. Now, Davids is part of the Congress that's sending a much different message.
I remember watching TV and crying. I just remember how deeply it impacted me that there were that many people who didn't think that someone like me should be able to start a family.
President Biden spoke about the legislation after it passed, calling it a critical step to ensure that Americans have the right to marry the person they love. Now, while some things on Capitol Hill never change, one senator is shaking things up. Arizona Democrat Kyrsten Sinema announced that she's leaving the party to become an independent. Raquel Martin explains what this means for Democrats and their already razor-thin majority in the Senate.
According to Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, Sinema's decision will have no major impact on Senate Democrats, who just days ago secured an extra seat in the upper chamber. He says he and Sinema have agreed for her to continue with her committee assignments. Arizona Democratic Senator Kyrsten Sinema is exiting the Democratic Party to become an independent.
Registering as an independent and showing up to work with the title of independent is a reflection of who I've always been.
Friday, the senator made the announcement official on Twitter.
Nothing's going to change for me, and I don't think anything's going to change for Arizona.
Sinema has been one of two outspoken moderate Democrats in the Senate who pushed back on key parts of the president's agenda. In a statement, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said the two have agreed to keep her on her committee assignments, and says Senate Democrats will still be able to exercise subpoena power and clear judicial nominees. Friday afternoon, the White House said the president remains optimistic about working together.
We see her as a key partner. She has voted with the president 93% of the time.
It's mostly symbolic.
Todd Belt, a political expert from George Washington University, says in the end, Sinema's decision will have the biggest impact back in her home state, where the freshman senator is up for re-election in 2024.
This is a way for her to gain more notoriety and national attention, and also to say that she's sort of a maverick in sort of the mold of a John McCain.
Today, the White House was asked if President Biden would support Sinema in a re-election bid. At this point, the White House not weighing in, pointing out the fact that Sinema has not announced a bid for 2024. For now in Washington, Raquel Martin, back to you.
All right, Raquel, thanks so much. In the district now, days after a deadly fire in Northeast, firefighters are trying to prevent future tragedies. Now, Wednesday's fire killed a man who was staying in a vacant building on 20th Street. And yesterday, firefighters returned to the scene. They knocked on doors, making sure neighbors had working smoke alarms. And in a video posted to Twitter, DC Fire said the vacant building was structurally unsound.
What we know is this was somebody that was in our at-risk population, right, based on age, and also because of the structure that they were in, right? So this was a building that was under some kind of construction, so it didn't have all the features we normally look for, like smoke alarms and everything else. But there's a lot of buildings in this neighborhood that we can hopefully go out there and positively affect and make sure that we can try to prevent this from happening.
Now, if you live in D.C., you can actually request a free smoke alarm. Just reach out to the fire department directly. And in health news today, more and more parents in the DMV are having trouble finding children's medicine. This comes as cases of RSV and flu and COVID rise. But while there are no medicines to make flu and RSV go away, ibuprofen and acetaminophen can help treat the symptoms. Now, doctors say if you're having trouble finding the children's brand, you can give them smaller doses of the adult version. Just call your doctor to find out the right formula depending on the type of medicine. And there are also some other at-home remedies that can help.
Sort of steam up the bathroom, bring their child in there, especially before bed, and let all the congestion sort of pour out so they have less of it when they're lying back and sleeping, which is when the congestion sort of pours back into their throat and can irritate them with coughing.
Dr. Sigmund, who's a pediatrician here in the DMV, says in most cases you do not need to bring your child in for RSV and flu. She says that you should come in immediately if they're in distress, trying to breathe, or if they're turning pale or blue.